again, amazing and incredible praise and worship experience. I always, again, am thankful for our praise team, just being able to lead us every single week. But now as we get ready to close out our series on Kings, you guys can notice I'm not here by myself, but I actually have my best friends in the entire world with me, because today we want to actually talk about the gift, the importance of male friendship, and not just males only in general, but particularly black males. Now, I gotta just be honest, one of our boys is missing, COVID. He's got 2 children, little children. He wants to stay safe. Now you're wondering, well, if he wants to stay safe, why aren't y'all wanting to stay safe? Because we test and we clean. We are clean, up in here. So I know we're good with the distance, but we just want to have a very incredible, engaging conversation and let you guys into our friendship. Like we really want to let you guys into it, because it has truly been not just a blessing, but it's literally, I can speak for me, and I think I'm gonna speak for all of us, it's literally saved our lives. And what we want is more black men and more men in general, of course, to be able to experience what it is that God has really blessed us with. So the text that we're really gonna just have as our springboard today is going to be Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, because I really believe that defines a lot of what we've experienced. So guys, let's just have a word of prayer, and then we're gonna just dive in, and you guys will just peer into our conversation. And the biggest part of this is we got Theo from behind the camera to be out in front. Like, you never see him on this side.
So weird.
Yeah, I could imagine.
7 years. I've never been over here.
Right.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all. You'll never see me again after this.
Well, guys, let's go ahead and pray. Then we're just go ahead and dive in. Father in heaven, thank you for the gift of friendship, and I'm thankful for these brothers in my life, and even Sean, who's not on camera right now. God, we pray that this conversation that we're about to have will be totally and completely edifying, and that somebody will recognize how important it is to have other people in their lives. Is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So y'all, I mean, we're the way that we connected, I think is important, because some people always ask me when I do, I preach a lot, and I mention and reference our friendship, and they say, well, man, how do y'all meet? Did y'all grow up? So I think it's important for them to know like how it is that we connected. I know I could start like, Alex, it was at the church, and Alex, you wanted to be an armor bearer, which I was like, man, this dude must be coming from the first day world, right? Because we don't have that. We don't have that there. And so we go to this Japanese restaurant. Dude, I just tell.
Yeah, I was
just
gonna say,
remind
how
us.
it happened is probably.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just love how you approach it.
Yeah. No, I was like, listen, I want to be of service. Right. Last time I was here, I was just kind of doing the most and just being a passive, recipient of the sermons, and I just wanted to serve. And so, because the way my father raised me and some work I did for my father-in-law, I knew that there's a certain blessing in helping, serving the man of God, so he could focus on, or the woman of God could focus on that word that day. And I think I brought you like a resume.
No, dude, that's what it was. He wasn't like, let's talk. It was literally a resume.
There was no job posting, by the way. But dude created a job.
But it was a resume of his life.
Yeah.
Which was crazy to me, I mean, and on there, because, Alex, I know you're very transparent about it, like, Alex did time. And so on there, he's like talking about what he did there, how he did it, PhD now.
I was saying, like,
I was about to say.
He's literally the doctor of all of us.
Of all of us,
Of
right?
all of us. That's what I was about to say, yeah.
He's done the most time out of all of us,
And
and
he's done the most education.
which is awesome. So from there, we just, hit it off.
But you gave me a platform to do my poetry also. You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, I got a poem for this, or he was like, hey, okay, you got a poem for this,
right?
And I'd write one, or something like that. So you'd always, I remember the first time I always bring the table and chair out. And then one time I was like, hold on. So
we saw that. Yeah,
everybody lost their mind. I started doing a poem.
It was good.
And people don't recognize how much of a burden that took off me every Saturday morning. Yeah. So, what brought you? I remember how we all.
I mean, I actually came out from the East Coast, and this is about 9 years ago. And I realized you just got to Rubidoux like
a little bit before
6 months or a couple months before I got there. My cousin brought me out. I came to the church. I kind of heard of you, we met and all that kind of thing, but it wasn't until, I had some personal life stuff happening, and we had connected on a whole bunch of different things that we were working on that it was kind of the way you responded and the way I responded in that moment is what just like, okay, like me and you got some stuff in common that's even deeper than, you know, than the work we were doing. And so then we just started talking more and more from there. And I think that's how our relationship kind of continued to solidify. But I was working at the church. I was an elder, you know, I was in the music ministry at the church. I was doing all kind of stuff in the church. And then I think we got closer.
Yeah, because I know you and Seth were hanging and connecting, and then we would work together. But then, like you said, there was that moment, which we'll talk a little bit about later, that really got us. I can't remember how you found your way, though, into everything.
I mean, I just got lost and happened to sit down in this chair. So this is my first time meeting all you guys on video. No, honestly, how I met you is like not... It's not special at all compared to these guys.
He asked you to edit a video in 24 hours.
Wow.
I had just moved out here to Marietta, you know, a little bit south of Riverside. And, you know, I was coming from Kentucky. And I was kind of in this place where I was like, God, if I can ever find a church that like I just somewhat can vibe with, like I'm just going down there because I was in, you know, Kentucky, population 1,982 people there, you know what I mean, small. And so I remember I just, you know, went to Rubidoux. A friend recommended me, like, go to Rubidoux. And I went, and I'm just like, okay, like this guy's preaching. And you just made like this obscure like X-Men reference in your sermon. I'm just like sitting in the back because I'm kind of a nerd. So like, you know, I'm like sitting in the back and I'm like, huh, that's strange. And then you made like another one. And I remember like, okay, like cool, after church, everybody's going through in line, you know, shaking your hand or whatever. And I like go up to him like, hey man, are you a nerd? And you're like, yeah, no, it's cool. Like I like that stuff. I was like, nah, like, are you a nerd? And then like you leaned in, you're like, yo, check out my office after we're done. And then I checked out your office. And it was just like Ninja Turtles and like, and I was like, I'd like to transfer my church membership.
That's instant.
You got rebaptized.
Well, you know, and I think that it was funny because the same thing, you know, with Sean, who's not here, we connected. I met, you know, his wife. We were talking about with the Age of Elohim.
That's right.
Where we did the Revelation seminar, and Sean did a lot of the work, and then we all started connecting.
I think that's where the real forming of us as a group actually happened.
Well, that's where I met you guys.
Right. I was just about to say.
Because Sean and I went to the same school, so we didn't know we had that connection.
Absolutely. I think at the Age of Elohim, all of us working through that. It was one night after, I think at the end of it.
We all were in that
little corner talking, and then we were just like, yo, we need to go like watch this movie that's coming up next. And that was a wrap after that.
I like movies. So.
Great. And I think that's the thing, you know, as I want to transition here, like, it started very organically.
Yeah, for sure.
But it started in a place, you know, church, where we all was a big part of our lives. But then a lot of people, I think, when they look at male friendship, like that's where it would stay, right? Like, okay, y'all go to movies together, y'all watch sports, and y'all talk, you know, shop, and then that's really it. But I think we started to see that there was something actually deeper and more meaningful there. And I want to, you know, lay out for everybody the equation that I believe really defines our friendship. And here's what it is that we want to just walk through. Safety plus transparency, vulnerability, and accountability equals change. And I think, you know, our relationship has looked at that. So first of all, the idea of safety. A safe environment is what's needed for someone to be transparent, for someone to be vulnerable, and, you know, for accountability and those things to take place. Like how have you guys, when you look at what's been happening within our friendship, our lives, how have you felt this space is safe? Like, what does that safety kind of look like?
You know, I mean, I'll go first on that. I think we talked a little bit about that moment of that, and when that thing, you know, that thing happened. For me, it wasn't like this intentional, hey, you guys are now safe, so we will be friends. It wasn't like that. I think a lot of times as men, we navigate through life, and the vulnerability, the things that you can't contain and can't hide, when those things come out, you look at how people respond to you in those moments, and you will feel that safety. So like when that situation happened, and you know, and I saw how you responded to me to say like, look, like, and it wasn't just you, like, you know, of course we had a crew of people who did it, but in that moment it was just kind of like, look, I understand more than you think I understand, and I want you to know like it's cool, and you can continue to navigate through life knowing that I know this about you, but you're still okay. And to me, that's where I experienced that safety. and then realizing that I could do that same thing with Theo, I could do that same thing with Alex, I could do the same thing with Sean, I think is where you start to realize that safety exists.
Is that when you found out you voted for Trump?
Fake news. Absolutely fake news. But that's another topic for another day. No, but that's
Alex is like this all the time.
He's the guy in the boy band. You know the guy in the boy band that's always like kind of
what are you talking about? Like,
so, but when it comes though to that concept of safety, you know, I think how important that is from the standpoint of us being able to just to express parts of ourselves that usually women sometimes don't think we actually express.
I mean, but to be serious, I feel like I would add two things up under safety, which would be respect and then trust, right? So one, like I saw enough of y'all that I could respect you, right? And then I felt trust that if things were said, it wouldn't go elsewhere. Like y'all weren't gossiping about nobody else. Like it wasn't that type of party. So I think the trust and respect had a lot to do with feeling safe.
Yeah,
for sure.
Now let me ask: have you? I know there've been some moments. Whenever you create safe, some people mistake this idea of safety for all that means anything just kind of goes, right? Like, it's just safe to do whatever.
Yeah.
But I think safety, and I love that word trust that you use, is also this place where we actually have to deal with each other on a deeper kind of level when we have issues. And to be honest, like we've as a group of guys, and and I like a term that you use, Alex, like fragile masculinity, right? Talk a little bit about like some of the that idea of fragile masculinity, like and what that means and how this cannot be if you want to keep things safe.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords going around right now, like toxic, like everything's toxic or whatever. But I feel like a lot of times how we're socialized feed into how we perceive masculinity or what it means to be a man.
It's true.
And a lot of times, it's not really grounded in anything solid. So then it becomes super fragile based on how one is perceived or what they think you're supposed to do, instead of just being confident in your neighborhood, Manville, right? Where you at with it. And you know what I'm saying? I feel like we've been programmed or taught to respond to each other certain kind of ways or interact with each other on a certain level. And anything deeper seems other.
Right, for sure. No, I think honestly that idea, it's almost like you kind of have to come, and it depends on the relationship, but you kind of have to come with some level of surety,
confidence
of who you are and who you are not. And then all of that is, I think, surrounded by who you're trying to become, right? So it's like the reality of, look, I'm a guy that has these problems, but I'm a guy who's very confident in what I can accomplish. And I want y'all to know, none of those places is where I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be here. And I think if you can be that honest and people still trust you that I know he has those problems, but I know where he's trying to be, and I know what's solid about him. I can stand on those things. And then when those other components that lead to change come into play, then you got this environment where you actually can be who you are as you're working towards becoming who you're going to become. Right?
It's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
Like to even tie on that, I forgot where I heard it, but they were talking about like just one maybe like I don't know what I call it, fundamental or core just differences like between like women's groups and men's groups, and it's like women grow face to face, men grow shoulder to shoulder, and I think that it's interesting, like looking at us, because you talk about like the safety and all that stuff, like which does happen, but like I would almost be willing to say that like a lot of those safe conversations might be happening under the guise of a Marvel marathon, for sure, right? It's like sometimes it's like a simple thing where it's like we're doing that shoulder to shoulder kind of activity,
absolutely.
But like within that, we still, Kev, like you were saying, it's like we still know like where somebody's trying to be, like where you're trying to get to, so we can like talk about while we're in the middle of a Marvel movie marathon watching Black Panther, we're like, yo, but Alex, how's that PhD studying going? Right.
Sure.
And it's like that kind of intentionality, like it doesn't stop. It's just almost more like that layered from trust and stuff like that, you know? I mean, sometimes obviously we do just call each other on the phone, but like we don't just call each other on the phone because we have a problem or we have a question. Sometimes we just be like, yo, did you see X? Have you listened to this album here? Or yo, how are those dreams just checking in with you? Like, we don't necessarily have to have a reason to do that. But that safety is built, I think, in that foundation.
Yeah. But you know, I love what you said, and here's where I want to, you know, open up this other part. Men shoulder to shoulder, women face to face. I think what's made us unique is we're shoulder to shoulder and face to face, right? And we're not afraid with that fragile masculinity, because some people, with some of the things that we go through, would use a sexist term and be like, oh man, y'all a bunch of, you know, females if y'all getting stuff like that. Because we've had problems with each other.
Let me put it like this, right? Like the idea of intimacy gets gendered.
Yes.
And so like
that's it.
There should be no fear of being intimate, you know what I'm saying, with your boys. Right?
Yeah.
So like, yo, these are things that I care about. These are things that I'm struggling with. These are things that I want to do, or you know what I'm saying? These are problems I got. Right. And that intimacy isn't a threat because ain't nobody fragile.
See that right there. I'm gonna call back to something you were talking about when you were saying like men want to be understood last week. It's like, we don't just want to be understood by our female counterparts in a relationship. We want to be understood in relationship. Now, obviously, there are other components that belong, but what you said was so powerful, because that's a reason why we have so many gaps in masculine growth and relationship, is because anytime the conversation of being intimately known by a guy comes up, there has to be some type of gender, you know,
association
or
with
associated with it, and it's just not the truth.
Or you gotta make jokes,
right,
to navigate it.
You don't have to make
jokes. I love you, man.
Right? No, that's humor. Like, do you or do you not? And at the end of the day, we do need some more real men, real situations, and real intimacy in our friendships. And I think we have that, which is why, you know, we work as well as we do.
You know, and I think what is key with the idea of, you know, the safety and the intimacy is intimacy shows that we care. Like, this is who I am and this is what it is. Right. So I remember, and I have a reputation because I like to overpromise and underdeliver.
Have mercy.
It's not an excuse.
No,
I mean,
but honestly, that's the transparency. That's the perfect example of why
we all have to know,
because you can say that here.
Wait, you know, you deliver?
Right. So
he's still waiting.
Yeah, he's still waiting. And people know he'll still wait for that text back. Right. So we we fell out for a second.
Yeah.
You know, but the reason I think that was I appreciated it eventually, obviously, because we all, you know, I think it was mostly us three.
Yeah.
You know, Batman and Superman, you know, having our fight. Right. He didn't, you know, kryptonite, all that. I mean, really going at it because I didn't respect who the part that you showed us of what was important to you,
for sure,
as a man. And you know, some people, yo, man up, dude. Like, you know, I didn't text you back, you know, but that wasn't the thing, because that's not the environment. The environment was, hey, Mike, like, this is what I respect as a man. This is what I like. And when I continually violated that, I mean, it's hurtful to the point where you were like, yo, I need some space, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And what you didn't recognize is that you needing that space and taking it the way you did actually triggers something for him, and you know, and for me as well. And I think the fact that we could experience those things amongst ourselves, and then because we had built that track record of safety and transparency, we had a space to come back and say, like, look,
that's it.
It was almost like being tethered to this friendship and this environment that we couldn't find anywhere else. And so that brought you back and brought me back to basically say, like, look, we can talk through this. We're safe to talk through this. And I learned so much about myself from fighting with you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I learned more almost in a lot of cases.
And also for me, like, how my actions affect the people that are closest to me.
For sure,
you know what I'm saying?
For sure. Now, Theo's the steady Eddie, so
he
kept us all together.
Theo
was like brothers.
No conflict.
No conflict, right?
No. I think just what it is, you know, I think that, you guys know me, and I am very interested in seeing masculine relationships, like just in general, like you know, I remember like there's some story that was I don't know if they're Marines or some sort of like group in the military, and they're like one of the top core things. It was like, and at the time, you know, it was years ago. By the time, it's like this all kind of men's thing, but like even to be initiated to the group, you would get jumped. And I don't mean like in a gang kind of thing, but you would jump. And the only way to get out of it is to do that, you know. And it's like when they talk about iron sharpening iron, like it sounds like this romantic kind of quote. It's like, oh, that's so nice. So it's like, no, like the sharpening thing hurts.
That's right.
Like,
for sure.
Like it really, really hurts. But like, I think it's cool to say. I mean, like we've got, you know, pastor, you know, civil, like leader, like all this stuff. Forget the regular work stuff. Entrepreneur, you know what I mean? Like what you're doing with C3, like kids, like teaching them how to code. I mean, you know, you're talking about from locked up to PhD. I mean, we don't need to say, I mean, you know, we were all there, you know what I mean? Like we don't need to say anything else. So it's like, when you think about all that in the big, like, you know, top down view, and then the small, like in the micro, it's like, oh, they have a problem. It's like, man, get over that, because like y'all are some of the dopest people that I know. Together, y'all are like going to hit limits that like other people wouldn't. You know what I mean? They don't dream of like things that you've accomplished, that any of you guys have accomplished. And so like for me, I'm just listening to all y'all. I'm like, man, if y'all don't like get y'all stuff together so that y'all can change the world.
No,
like
right,
it's a
right,
simple.
right. I text you,
it's
it's like I ain't messing
thing.
with them. I ain't messing with them. You know what I'm saying?
And I think I was like, man,
But I'll tell you what was big though. I don't think there was anything said behind each other's back that we didn't.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why. And but to me, that's the safety.
You're right.
Like that, and that's that. I think is why we're able to continue to go, because we took the time. The space was created, and when safety is created, it allows when these kind of things happen for you to be able to navigate.
I think it's the transparency too. You know what I mean? I think
that's the equation.
Like I love the equation because they don't stand up without each other.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
that's
exactly what you were saying just now, like to me, that's a transparency. I never feel like I can't say something to Mike that I won't say to Alex, even if I'm talking to Alex about him. And most of the time, the stuff I've said to you about Alex, I've said to Alex already.
Yeah.
You know
It
what I
wasn't
mean?
like, hey, like I'm telling you about these guys. I think I jumped out the group thread. And let you know, like, y'all, hit me over here. For sure.
No, but it's the same all around. I think that transparency
Yeah.
is what was beautiful. I didn't hear anything, and that's the piece I want to drill down on the transparency component. Is I never heard anything from Theo that I didn't hear from you. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, he said what? I was like, yeah, he told me that. And here's how I feel. He's like, yeah, he said that's how you feel.
It's a really nice paragraph.
Exactly.
No, but I think transparency also comes with a risk, because like you're behind the camera, you know what I'm saying? You're a boss. I'm on the bottom of the backslide.
No, don't say that.
What did you say, doctor?
What did you
say,
again,
PhD?
Dr. Sterling?
That's
Your
not
lower
even the
third
best.
has a doctor in it.
That's not the best part about me. I'm Batman. But listen, I think for him as a pastor, and growing up, my father was a pastor, just knowing the kind of unrealistic expectations everybody puts on people, and how people like to talk about people. That for him to be transparent with a group of people, it's a greater risk,
for sure.
because there's so many people, so many eyeballs, so many judgmental people waiting to call the conference. That, you know what I'm saying? I think that's a bigger, you know what I'm saying? That was a bigger step for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I could tell you guys this though, as we transition, because we talked about safety, and I think transparency and vulnerability is what I kind of want to delve in next, even though we've kind of touched a little bit. All of us at some point or another, me, I'm public, went through some really dark, some dark moments. Yeah. And I can honestly say, like y'all legit, like saved my life, man. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, man.
Just from being able to have a safe place, to be vulnerable and transparent. Yeah. And that's such a big thing that I think we as men are really missing. Because we're going through a lot of this stuff by ourselves. We have to put on this thing, but I was only able to lead and pastor a lot because of I had guys who were able to, to talk through that. And I mean, one of the most hurtful things through all that is while we're all just going through, our own stuff, is the things that people were saying, "Oh, look at them," and they're all, you're going through that. How did that? affect. What I appreciate is it didn't affect our
Yeah.
transparency. It didn't affect our vulnerability.
Yeah.
And why should it?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, I was just, I think there's an important thing, I think with all friendships, but I think something especially that we have. And to be clear, I think that all of us have our own other friend groups and stuff as well, right? You know what I mean? Because that's, we're
So humans.
Because we're missing BJ. We're missing BJ.
Yeah,
BJ.
BJ gotta be here too. That's right.
Straight missing BJ. BJ, our man, bro. But you out living big dreams right now, man.
But, and I think I think it's the package deal, right? It's like, I mean, it's something I learned from Kevin, like with strength finders and stuff like that. It's like, okay, if Mike is a futurist, like he is the dreamer, like he is the guy who's like, yo, we can go up there. I'm like, Mike, we can't do that. And Mike's like, no, we're going higher. I'm like, Mike, I don't have a step ladder to even get to the first step, or if Alex would do that, wears his heart on his sleeve or something like that all the time. And like, there might be times when, I know if I need like something ASAP, like there have been times when Alex has shown up, taking, I don't even know how he would get, I'm talking like 12 hours ways, and like Alex would do like no questions asked, and stuff like that. Or Kev, when I needed like places, like we sometimes look at the good and we're like, yeah, that's the friend that can do this. That's the friend that I can always ask for advice for this stuff. But I think it's also important in creating those bonds that it's like, okay, there's other parts of that person that like, it may not be something that I necessarily struggle with. Maybe something that they struggle with. It may be something that they may not even see themselves struggling with. But like, what is my job here in the bond? You know what I mean? Like, how can I, whatever you're going through, like, how can I not only be there for you? And I think so you're kind of saying, like, how can I like be there for you and encourage you for sure? Like, if you fall down a path, like for sure, like I'm gonna stop with you. But like, if I'm not offering a hand to help you get back up and keep walking, then that's not a friendship.
Not at all.
That just means that I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like because I think for all of us, we're all always trying to, none of us are trying to stay comfortable.
At all.
In anything that we're doing. Like it's kind of ridiculous, right? So I think for me, like that's the thing that I always just think about, like with you, like it's not even a thing of like whatever you're doing, like it's, we all know stuff. So.
But like to your point, like, or your question, it's like guilty by association, right? So at a certain point, you know what I'm saying, like you preaching, you singing, you know what I'm saying, and being an elder, and I'm doing poetry every once in a while, right? Carrying some chairs, armor bearing. Shout out to Ronnie, who took over. But I think at a certain point, everybody thought, if we're gonna have like a red table talk moment, everybody thought we was having, a divorce pact. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, let's all get divorced. You know what I'm saying?
For the record, I'm not married. I just want
Not anymore. Not anymore. That's funny. He's not messing up.
But what that looks like, you know what I'm saying, to other people, I think a lot of people can get tripped up based on what other people thinking, gossiping versus, like I was saying earlier, the idea of being understood by a few, right, can help insulate you from like the pain or discomfort of being misunderstood by the masses, right, or the majority, right? So I think that just us being tight, and you mentioning us and telling people, oh, this is my group, you know what I'm saying, and then we all go through something, I think that a lot of people put, you know what I'm saying, their own expectations on the group.
I so agree with that, man. I think that for me, going through that divorce was one thing, one set of trauma, right? It was a real set of trauma. But then to deal with the way that the masses, the masses approached it, what it did for me, man, is I really had a chance to sit back and reevaluate how we've been socialized as a society around friendship. Like, if somebody is in a ditch and they're hurt, that's the reason why the Good Samaritan, the individuals who came before the Good Samaritan stepped over that man. They stepped over that man because of the association of what it would look like to help somebody who's in an issue. And to me, friendship, if we are to reconstruct what true friendship really is, when you are in your worst of times, when you're in your worst of situations, even whether you were the one who were the worst or the worst was being done to you, like that's when you need your brothers, your sisters, whoever are your friends to be closest to you. And that's usually been my commentary to people, was just pretty much like, yo, look, if I pray that one day you would have a friend that when you're going through something that nobody else could understand, they never leave your side. And because to me, that is what true friendship is. Now, we can't be responsible for that majority, but we can be responsible for what we did. And for me, I just turned inward and said, like, I'm gonna be the truest friend to you guys that you were to me during that time. And let it be said what it be said. But that's why I think the important thing about the equation is the change that comes at the end, because at the end of the day, you're not gonna be this person you were before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you don't have nothing to prove, right?
Absolutely.
Like in a world where you feel like you always got to prove things, with your group of friends that you trust, you can say, all right, look, there might be something that you were saying like, yo, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. I'm like, bro, you ain't even gotta
explain that to you. That's
right.
right. I remember you saying that.
I already know you don't have to.
Right.
You don't have to prove that point, and I think that can be. I think that can be like a what is it, like a thing in the desert, like a rest.
Oasis.
Like
Oasis.
an oasis.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In a sense,
sure.
right?
For sure.
Or remember I asked y'all, what's your love language? Like trying to equate that.
It was kind of weird at first.
It was very weird.
Yeah, it was fragile.
Fragile masculinity.
I'll admit, it was
You don't want
fragile.
that
I was fragile.
when
Like,
you're
what?
talking about movies and then like somebody's like, hey man, what's your love language?
You wanna
Like,
touch
send
me
me
or
to buy you something.
No.
It's like, yo, do you mean to send this to us?
Yeah.
but it's critical because just trying to equate that oversimplified idea of relationships, romantic relationships,
Sure.
knowing that somebody in that relationship might not feel loved, you don't spend time with them, you only buy them stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in the same sense in our relationship, our friend, like what we went through, like, yo, I expect you, if I text you, I expect a response back. You know what I'm saying? Like, if, don't text me something else and expect me to respond to you.
Right.
You
If
ain't,
you don't respond
just
to
ignore it.
what I
Like, to me, that's that. And I think that one of the things was maybe that wasn't common courtesy. Like, maybe that wasn't obvious. So in all of our relationships, how do we feel the most supported, right? If loved ain't the word, right? How do you feel the most supported?
Yeah.
And so in a friendship, you gotta ask that. So I know with you, like you like a phone call. Like you rather, like I'm sending Father's Day texts, right?
Yeah.
Even to you, Theo. And I'm like,
Yo, you go get him a phone call. You better chill.
Pops is gonna call us. Pops is gonna
Do
call
I
us.
not know
Man,
about
listen,
something?
man, people watching this, man.
what, oh, this ain't just a private conversation?
Man, they already see my kitchen, bro.
I didn't know that was your kitchen. It's a really clean kitchen. All right, so listen, but like I called you to say Happy Father's Day. You know what I'm saying? And I know certain ways that you like to be, that you feel supported.
Yeah,
Sure.
And I think that that's important.
Yeah, but I think that's what is appreciated, because see, you know when somebody, for example, is asking your boy, what's your love language? Like, you know that that's somebody who's there with you,
No, for
because
sure.
what I think all of us went through in our own different or whatever. And Theo, you have different stuff that you've experienced, and will, and all of us. I mean, that's not the end of it. You know, when you hear that from people, you to know that there was a group that, and it's so funny. I'm not saying this to prove us or to defend us. It's actually just to say, like, how you can't be caught up in what other people are thinking when you have this connection. For sure. Because the amount of times that we were praying. I mean, you remember that night we were over at my crib until like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
We were up just talking and praying and looking at texts as different things are happening. And nobody knows the Gethsemanes that we have been in and the blood that's been coming down. For sure. And that's what I appreciate. So, because it goes beyond the Marvel and beyond the martial arts or the fun.
Get through grad school.
I remember that.
Yeah, all
Grad
that.
school, man.
That's brutal,
You
man.
changed my life. Can I just say that?
No.
Can I just say that? Another Red Table Talk moment?
Just don't say that, man. That's copyrighted.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Round table.
I said moment. Masculine Red Table. All right. You changed my life, man. Because I used to go to your house and hide from my kids for the weekends, right? And you know what I'm saying? And it was dope because you were like an evangelist for comics. You took me to your comic book shop, and you were like the way you were talking about it, your eyes lit up.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shoot, I want a comic. He's like, well, who do you like? I was like, I like Batman. You know what I'm saying? And so I got a Batman comic.
2 weeks later.
2 weeks I had all the comics.
2 weeks later,
I was about to say,
he's got a Batman suit.
I remember that.
Yeah,
He had a
suit.
full
Make
suit,
money.
right?
It was a rabbit hole. I felt that, but you changed my life. So I appreciate that.
No, that's solid, man.
Well, as we get ready, because I mean, obviously we could.
I said nerds have been having fun without me for all these years.
Yeah, the chance that now we can get it. So I think the thing that I hope people walk away with this idea of, in a friendship, particularly male friendship, there's got to be safety. Right?
Absolutely.
The safety, though, leads way for transparency. This is what I'm going through. Vulnerability. This is how I feel. This is how what you've done affects me. Not being afraid of that fragile, masculinity, because we're like, no, we're emotional creatures too, and we operate within that. We have love languages, not just with the opposite sex, but also with each other, and we want to be responsible, pouring that in. For sure. But then also, accountability, where we each know who we want to be. Notice I didn't say what we want to do in life. No. It's who we want to be character-wise.
That's right.
And we're talking to each other through that, because with that accountability, with the safety, transparency, and vulnerability equals change. Yeah. How have you seen through our friendship change happen in your character, as a result of the friendship? Like that you actually have seen spiritual, personal growth as a result of just what we have been able to create.
You gonna make me cry now, because honestly, guys, like, talk about dark moments. Like, oftentimes, I'll just keep it real. Like, COVID probably hijacked people's year, for 2020. For me, I had a stroke in January, and seeing you guys come through, and the neurologist told me this. I'll just go through this. One of my neurologist friends sat with me and he said, you know what, man, a lot of people bounce back from having strokes, and the thing that they never expect is the depression and the way that they feel, like the mental stress and trauma, that they're questioning everything in their life. They're questioning every decision they make. And I have to make a lot of decisions in my life. But man, I forgot. Like, I forgot who I was. I forgot where I was going. I forgot who I was trying to be. And you guys, every day, and every single one of you guys reminded me every moment. Like, I remember you sent me a video, man, and you were just like, look, I'm not even gonna address you like you had a stroke. I'm just gonna tell you, like, this is who you are. You reminded me what I accomplished. Theo, Alex, same thing, man. Reminded me of the things that I've accomplished. To remind me of where I'm trying to be and where I'm trying to go. And that anchor, I did not have it. Like, my family obviously got that love, but that anchor is literally what saves me to this day. And so that to me is the accountability. It's like, yeah, you've been through this, you've done this, but this is where you're trying to go. And when your eyes gets taken off of that, whether it's from a stroke or whether it's your jacked up decisions that you make, it does not matter. When your eyes come off of that, you got people who are watching you who say, yo, that's where you're going. You made a left here. There's a way back. Don't forget. And they redirect your eyes towards where you're trying to be. And I don't think I've even said to you guys how much of a lifesaver that was to me, that you guys were my anchor and still are my anchor to this day for what you guys have done for me as far as the accountability to who I am. Not allowing me to use that legitimate, like, let's be honest, I didn't make a decision to have a stroke. Like, that was a legitimate, I didn't even know I had one. And it was a legitimate deterrent from where I was trying to be. And you guys reminded me of that. And having that picture so clearly in your own heads to hold me to that kept me sane. And it wasn't just a stroke. Like, if I deviated in any kind of way, whether, like I said, bad decision or a life issue, you guys anchored me to what I said I was trying to become. And that's like, that means everything to me. Man, everything.
You're one of the most competent and confident brothers I know. You know what I'm saying? Like what you say goes a long way, because I respect, like, you're just a boss, right? Regardless of your profession, but that's how you carry yourself. And so, of course, I'm gonna throw that back in your face. Like, you are beyond competent, beyond confident. This ain't you. This is something you're going through.
And I appreciate that. And I hope you guys feel that accountability from me as well. Because you talked about those dark moments that we went through and in some cases are still going through.
Yeah.
Like you talk about those dark moments, like us being able to sit down and say, when nobody's looking, this doesn't need to be validated or understood by the general public. This is just you, us in our rooms saying like, look, that's not who you're trying to become. How do we correct?
That's the same thing you told me, right? When I was going through it, and for the last years, I've been telling you, I'm finna go to Japan. I'm finna go.
I
You know what I'm saying? Like 6 years of grad school, and then I'm like, I'm gonna get this TESOL certificate, and I'm gonna do this. And I was knocking off all the things on the list. Passport, everything about to go, and then COVID happens, and you know what I'm saying, a couple of Skype interviews going wrong. But I was very disappointed because my whole everything had been going toward that, and my biggest fear, I was telling y'all, was like, I don't want to settle. I don't want this to be it. And he's like, bruh, look at your company. Like, look who you're around. Like, nobody around us settles. Like, none of us settle. Like, you're a boss of a hospital, but you have Carrington, right? You have C3. You know what I'm saying? You doing counseling, preaching, you know what I'm saying, writing books, and you know what I'm saying, like, you let me be in your movie. You know what I'm saying? I had to fight for a speaking role. You know what I'm saying?
I knew he was gonna say
He
that.
was always going to say
I
it.
knew
He's
it was
going
coming.
to find a way to work it in.
But nah, like, and you reminded me the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, this is what's happening to you right now. But because we all know where we're trying to go. I know what you're trying to do.
The one thing I'll say about that is this is why all of those pieces can't exist without the other, because we would never have that to pull on when it comes to accountability if we weren't transparent with each other. If Alex never asked us what our love languages were, like he would never know that, I need to call Kev, and I need to talk to him about this, and I need to say this to him. Like we would never know that. So it's like all those building blocks without the accountability, unfortunately, is what I think a lot of men are experiencing, because it's like, cover for me. Yeah. Well, that's the safety, because you know what's going on. That's the transparency, because you know what's going on. That's all the rest of that, but it's not accountable. Well, for what? Like, like where is this leading you? What are you trying to do? And so my thing is like, it's all of those pieces that have to be fostered and developed and worked on and worked through in order to actually, really hold someone accountable. Because imagine trying to do it without having that kind of relationship.
It doesn't work. I think especially with guys, a lot of times we'll be like, hey man, I need you to chill because I don't know you like that. Like we haven't walked that road long enough. Like to because you said
but this
like
was
it's
years
respect,
in.
right?
This was years in. Right?
I mean it's like So and I think that's just something that like some things like you can't, maybe some were saying it, but like you can't rush. And you want to be intentional, but intentional is different things. Like, like Kev, like I know like how busy you are with so much other stuff. So like sometimes we'll just chop about nothing.
Right.
Because like sometimes I'm like, Kev ain't trying to, like we're not trying to just be working all the time, or something like that. You know what I mean? Or like even you, if you're like, hey, I'm working on something, say, hey, look, it's just something really crazy, but there's a Star Wars marathon, you know what I mean? Or something like that. Or like a Comic-Con or something, because I think that comes with equally challenging, pushing each other professionally, spiritually, doing the devotion with Kev, you know what I mean? Or something like that randomly. But it's also knowing it's like, nah, man, Alex has really been in the studying thing. For sure. Alex, let's just go kick it. Let's just go do that. So
and knowing, I would say, and knowing him too, because one of the things I appreciate about Alex, I appreciate about you, and I don't know if you intended for this to turn into that kind of session, but like he's probably one of the most organized and consistent people I know. So like if he lays out a roadmap of where he's going,
easy to hold him accountable.
It's like
it's too easy.
Like you almost don't even have to. You almost don't even have to because he's already got. And he's checking off, and there's this consistent movement that you've been making ever since you hit that bottom point in your life towards something. So now I absolutely recognize when that kind of man, something stops him from checking off a box. Yeah. That means something. That activates it. He don't have to call and say, you know what I mean? I was like, dang, COVID really hit him. So it's time for us to activate to kind of hold people.
But also like not only that, but you'll read stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll be saying something, we'll have a conversation, and I'm like, no, I can't. I'm gonna send you some articles,
right?
Or I'm gonna send you some quotes.
So many articles.
but you'll
But I'll
take
read
the
it.
time
Yeah,
to read
for
them,
sure,
and
for
then
sure.
you don't even have to agree with me, but at least you'll have now a basis
The body of
to
knowledge.
disagree with me or something, like we'll be on the same page. So
sure.
that's admirable.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think and I appreciate, this combo. Seriously, I do, and I appreciate all of you, and of course, to the rest of our crew, that's not here. Yeah. I think what I really wanted people to experience and walk away with is, deep, meaningful, intimate. Yet we use that word. Yeah. Male friendships are not only possible, but they're necessary. Absolutely. I believe that when it comes to us making it to the other side in the kingdom of heaven, and of course we know we're there by the blood of Jesus. I just know that when God looks at the contributing factors that helped us get closer to Him, it's gonna be this, sure. and that's really what I want us to know. Like we view ourselves. That's one of the things that was important when we met each other. We were kings. We knew we were kings made in the King's image, sure. And what we did is, as we connected as kings, is we said, you know what? We want to create a safe space. Mm-hmm. We became transparent with one another, vulnerable with one another, held each other accountable. And that's why I know my character's grown, your character's grown, yours. And we're going to keep on growing, because that's really, y'all, what life is really all about. Yeah. It's about growth. It's about people finding you here. And then when they leave you, you're much further along in life. Yeah. And when we say in life, we're not just talking about career. We're not just talking about money or degrees. We're talking about character, because that's the only thing that we're taking with us. And so I pray that this conversation was edifying for you. And to all my brothers out there, it's one thing to have homies that you could go to the club with and watch games with and do foolishness with. It's another thing to have friends that when you make poor decisions and bad decisions, that they create a safety net. And it's not a safety net simply for you to keep doing it over and over again. It's not a safety net for y'all just to have fun. It's a safety net that says, no, I know that you're more. I know that you're a king, and I want to hold you to that because I want the best for you. And the one thing that I have to say to all of us in closing, I'm going to say to you guys, I think we love each other more than we love our friendship. And what that means is that we would say something that's in the best interest of us, even if it costs us the friendship. And that right there, to me, is everything. And I want you as brothers say it.
Just about disagreeing. Finish on that. Like, we can disagree with each other.
We do disagree.
About major things, about strategy, but we still try to figure out ways to support each other.
But I think here's what's key. We disagree on strategy, but not what our ultimate goal is. And that's what keeps us here.
For sure.
The goal is to sharpen each other. Now, we disagree on what that might look like and how it happens, and there's tension, but that's the goal. And so, brothers, I'm just challenging you to just go deep. Safety, transparency, vulnerability, accountability, and that's how you equal change in your life. So we thank you guys so much for joining us, but I always want to give somebody an opportunity. If there is somebody out there that wants a friend that sticks closer to you than a brother, his name is Jesus.
Yes, he's the one.
Come on in the appeal with me.
No, wait, the last thing is to be transparent, right? Yeah. Amongst us, right?
Yeah.
So I stopped going to church. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I stopped, I might watch you sometimes, but like, I stopped going to church. But for personal, because I wasn't a good role model.
Which we disagree on that, but that's a part of it.
So I was like, my witness is shot. Like, fall back.
We disagree on that.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think what's important is that I never lost the fellowship, right? Because that's what the devil wants you to do. Like, I'm not fit to go to church, but I'm going to isolate you, right? So for me, I always had y'all to hold me accountable, send Bible verses, have biblical conversations. Like, so I wasn't completely, outside.
No, you just.
I think that was important.
Yeah. But I would say it this way though: you just stopped going to the building. You never stopped going to church. You know what I'm saying? Because I
never stopped tithing.
We brought it. Right. I can't do that either. But that is, and I think that's even while here at Rubidoux, we're pushing the small groups, and that's what we want to give someone an opportunity to do today. You want to connect to Jesus Christ. You want to make that next step, whether it's through a small group, Bible study, connecting with Christ. We want you, if you're watching on MountRubidousLive.com, mountrubidoux.com. Look at that link right above you on top. Click the What's My Next Steps button, and you'll be able to facilitate and see what is the next step that you want to take in your journey with Christ. If you're watching on Facebook Live, we want you to go ahead and look at that link right there in the comment section. Click on that, and we'll have somebody follow up with you. But right now, what we want to do is just have a closing word of prayer. God in heaven, thank you so much for this opportunity for us to have this discussion. We pray that not only were people blessed, but you were glorified. We thank you for the gift of friendship, and we're just so thankful the way that you brought us into one another's lives. And I pray and I'm thankful for everyone who's watching who has friendships that they can be safe with, transparent, vulnerable, and accountable, and be able to grow and have that kind of change in their lives, Father. I pray for those who have made decisions today. The best decision that they can ever make is getting hooked up with Jesus, or maybe even also hooked up in another small group so that they can experience the life-changing gift of friendship. So, Father, we love you, we praise you, and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. We know everything was just a little different as we had an open conversation. Don't forget that next week we are starting our incredible series on the book of Esther, Queens. We've got some really cool formats that we're going to be throwing at you. I'll be kicking off. I know y'all were expecting to see Pastor Johns today, but he had some emergency that came up, and so we were able to cover and pull something together. Also want to just continue to remind you and thank you for all the donations that you have given to COVID-19. We're able to feed families every single week, and please know that people are still, the economy is still rough. Yeah. So the donations that you're giving are really helping us move forward. Thank you for those who are part of our online campus. All of those little donations are helping up tremendously as well. Again, we want to thank you guys again for sharing this. Don't forget, let somebody know about MountRubidousLive.com. Let them know what's happening at Mount Rubidoux. We've got some incredible and awesome and amazing good things. As always, don't forget, Afterthought is going to take place at 1:15. If we went a little longer than that, just know Afterthought's going to happen immediately after this on my personal IG, and we can talk a little bit more about this. Don't forget, remember, you can join us live on my IG.
I may join.
You would join it? Yeah, you guys got to. We should probably come through. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you on next week. As always, don't forget to continue to keep loving, keep growing, and keep serving.